Inquiry 5, bias and experimental error. First word we have to define is bias. Bias is having favor toward a particular outcome or expectation. Okay? All right. If your first name begins with A through K, put a circle in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. The next word we have to define is experimental error. Experimental error is the difference between the measured value and the true value due to error caused by one of the following. Okay. Make us some bullets. Okay. The first one is uncontrollable changes in the environment. Okay. Examples of this would be like temperature and humidity. There we go. Okay. All right. So in that example, if I was doing a experiment today in the lab where it's kind of rainy and the humidity's high and muggy outside, compared to when I would do one tomorrow, for example, with the weather might be nice, then I could get different results just due to temperature and a change in humidity. Okay, another reason is because of limited accuracy of the tools. Okay, an example here is that the equipment is not accurate. Is not accurate. All right. So here, example of this is, for example, if you ever weigh at home and then you go to the doctor's office and they take your weight, often you will find that your weight is different, and the reason why is probably because your scale at home is not quite as accurate as the one in the physician's office. Okay, so that's what we mean by limited accuracy of the tools that we use in lab. Okay, if you have missed rules, put a star in the upper right-hand corner. All right, one thing I do want you to know, and I want you to star this, is that mistakes are not experimental error. Okay, if you make an error in reading a tool, that's not experimental error. Okay, that's just you've messed up. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right. Here we have some scenarios. A drug company has developed a new drug for nausea. Before the drug can be released to the public, it must undergo 5 years of trials and be approved by the FDA. In an effort to save money and make more profit when the drug is released, all clinical testings were performed in-house by the company who developed the drug. So, is this bias or is this experimental error? Okay, this, of course, is going to be bias. And the reason why is because the same company that created the drug is also testing the drug. Okay, so that's a problem. You can't do that. They actually do not allow drug companies to do this. They have to do something called a double-blind study and have an outside third-party company do testing on drugs. But this scenario was definitely biased. Okay, all right. Here's another scenario. In high school biology lab, students were to find the density of a given object. Jacob measured the mass of the object and found that it had a mass of 40 grams and a displacement volume of 4 milliliters. Gina measured the same object and got the same result as Jacob, calculating the density at 10 grams per centimeter cubed. However, the object's box indicated that the density of the object was actually 9.8 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, so what's the problem here? Is this bias or experimental error? Okay, this one is going to be experimental error. And the reasoning why is because actual versus measured were different. And they wasn't different by much, okay? But this is just because their tools probably wasn't accurate enough to get that minute of a difference in density. Okay, so if you have Miss Gunner, put a smiley face in the bottom left-hand corner, and if your first name is L through Z, put a box in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, this is Inquiry 5. bias and experimental error.